Raise your voices, raise your glass high. Welcome to the Drink O'Clock Podcast. Let's dive. Oh, grab an old fashioned and join the fray. Raise your spirits, let the music play. From the corner pub to the dance hall floor. Drink O'Clock Podcast, we're ready for more.
We are coming at you on another episode of the Drink O'Clock Podcast. I'm stoked, man. I got a bunch of questions for you today. But we got an exciting one for you, folks. I have Preston Lee. Now, Preston, you're a professional gambler, which, if you've listened to my show, I talk about gambling all the time because I love doing it. What I like to call a degenerate, but I don't have a problem. You're a psychic channeler, an energy healer, and a father. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, it's an interesting concept you got there. You got a lot going on. So, where I like to start with this show is talk to me about growing up. Where did you grow up, and what made you gravitate towards poker/gambling? Because I think everyone always has their own little story spin of how they got there.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in San Francisco. I was born and raised there. Lived there basically all my life. I live in Vancouver now. But for the first kind of like 33 years of my life, I really didn't know anything else except poker. Like I wasn't spiritual. I was pretty much just kind of agnostic. Like I just believed that if there was something to believe in, like, then I'd have to have the kind of proof to believe in it. And so like I started playing poker like God, I think I won a party poker cruise when I was like 18, and then I went on that, and then I just realized that I was making a lot of money playing online poker, and this is when online poker just started becoming a thing. And so I was just saying like, why do I need a job when I'm making thousands of dollars every day, right? Like
It's
there's
true.
no reason. So then I was just like, I'm just gonna play poker and I'm just gonna make it my career. So like I played poker like all the way up to like um around 4 years ago. Not to say that I stopped playing poker, but I've kind of moved on to better things. And
Yeah.
and so yeah, up until then I was just playing cash games and tournaments, and just it was my whole life. It was my life would just go to Vegas every year for like a month, just grind it out, and just kind of degen, to be honest, with my friends. Right? That was my life for a long time.
I mean, that's a fun life.
Yeah,
You-
but it's stressful. But yeah, it's fun. It's
yeah.
definitely fun for sure.
Well, the funny thing is too is I'm in Philadelphia, so we have a Parks Casino here, which is
Mhm.
probably, in my opinion, it's the best casino, at least on this half of the state. And they have a poker building
Mhm.
basically, and it's a wild place, man. Now I'm a small fry here, so like I'm rolling in with $200-300, and I know the one time I probably sat at a table for, I only brought like $100, and I probably played for 6 hours. I was like, yeah, I'll go in, I'll play for 2 or 3 hours, and then it was like this. I figured I would lose it pretty quick. The problem is when you're playing with such a small stack, like, I'm playing at a low limit table, but you have people that have been sitting there for 10 hours and they have their stacks are this big. So it's tough to battle against somebody, without having to like go all in, you know? Um, so talk to me about, when did you like figure out that you kind of had abilities? Was it early on? Was it more later in life?
As a poker player, like it's funny because like I didn't really think I had abilities. I just always thought like when I was in like a really big hand and it was just kind of like on the river, and you're just like you're sitting there thinking about, should I call or should I fold? Like what should I do? And the really big pots, when I reflect back on it, that I won, I just sat there and said, this just doesn't feel right, or this just does feel right, right? And oftentimes, like, because I'm a very logical person, right? I would
Yeah.
say, okay, like screw the mental logic. Like nothing in this hand makes any sense, but the gut says, like this guy's fearful, or the gut says like these things are happening. And so at that point, I think that I recognized that I was using intuition, but I couldn't understand it logically. Like I couldn't understand what was happening, but I knew that there was something more, essentially. And so, up until like I kind of had a kid, right? I didn't really explore that, but once I started a family, then I kind of pivoted to like I just want to kind of become my best self, right? I want to become my best self for my wife, for my
Yeah.
children, and just work on a lot of like mental and emotional and other things to become my best self. And so that's kind of when my journey started. Before that, it was just curiosity, but it wasn't like I was born psychic. I firmly believe that everybody is psychic. I firmly believe that everybody has intuitive capabilities, and it's just really about figuring out how to open them and how to explore them. And that's kind of what I've grown to want to become a channeler and a psychic to really kind of help people discover their own abilities, to discover their own talents, to discover, what makes them unique, amongst the world. Because I believe that everybody has those gifts, and really it's just, it's undiscovered, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah. I would agree with you. I've had a couple psychics and healers on my show in the past, and a lot of them think like you do. Like everyone has something. It's not a gift that only a select few get. It's learning how to tap into it. Um, Now, obviously, when you're talking about being a gambler, like a professional gambler, and having these abilities, it had to give you some pretty crazy intuition. What's the largest pot you've ever won?
The largest pot I ever won, I think, must be like, uh, well, I won a tournament for $250,000 in Vegas. So that's
Oh,
technically the
that's awesome.
largest pot I ever won. So yeah, that was the $1,500 shootout, I think 5 or 6 years ago. And so I have a World Series of Poker bracelet. So that's my
Nice.
crowning achievement for sure. I think in terms of cash games, the biggest pot I ever won was probably like 100,000 US dollars. So
Damn.
that's pretty nice. But
Now, you
yeah.
hear some pretty crazy stories with like being in Vegas. Did you ever have the hotels do crazy shit for you if you wanted?
Oh, for sure. When you're gambling that much and you're just like throwing money, and especially back in the days when I'm young and dumb, I would just
Yeah.
be like, oh, like 5K Bellagio bill, sure, why not? But nowadays
Yeah.
I'm like 5K Bellagio bill, no way. You know, I'd rather spend that, on my family or something. So definitely, they give you perks, but poker players don't really get that many perks. It's if you're like gambling like in the casino that those kinds
Yeah.
of kinds of things happen. But yeah, there's still perks that you can get.
I guess that makes sense because obviously they expect poker players to end up gambling a lot because you're just kind of sitting there. Like you're
Yeah,
not wandering around, you're not aimlessly like and you're not also playing against the house, right? You're playing against other people. The house gets their cut, so they're not making a ton of money. I mean they are, but they're
yeah,
not. It's not like they would if you're playing in like a high limit,
yeah.
roulette room.
Yeah, I kind of have a cheat code for getting the things that I want in Vegas, so I'll let you know what that is in the sense that like um so for like the Rio, like I used to play high limit video poker, right? And I was looking online like what is the one game that I can play with the best odds to not lose all my money and to get the highest VIP level, right? And I recognized that as video poker. So then I was like, okay, now what's the fastest way I can get to the highest VIP level without, wasting all my time? And so it was like, okay, I can play video poker and I can play like $100 or $200 a hand, and I'll be done in 2 hours, and then I will have the highest VIP kind of status. So I did that, and it was so scary because it was like you're sticking in like you're sticking like 5K in there, and like you lose like 5K in like 30 minutes. You're just like, oh god, and then you're just praying, right? But somehow at the end of that, I ended up winning 3 jackpots because you're playing like 100 hands, and like so I remember like two of those hands I got dealt quads just off the bat. So then I could hold it, and then you win like quads like 100 times over. And then so basically after all of that, I think I won like $4,000, luckily, and I'm like, I'm never playing this game again.
But that's cool. So that's kind of a cheat code to get like that high crazy status.
Yeah, absolutely. You're still gambling, don't get me wrong, and obviously gamble responsibly to everybody who's listening to this. But,
Yep.
if you're going to do something like that, look for the math. At the end of the day, it's all about math. And it's all about like, okay, like what is the best avenue to get here, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, I think my crowning achievement, I think the most I ever won. We're roulette players, me and the wifey.
Mhm.
So, we actually really enjoy online right now because there's I don't know if you ever play online, so you don't really gamble as much anymore, but they have lightning roulette.
Mm.
I don't know if you've seen this. It's pretty cool. So, uh, it's spun. Now it's spun by it's like one of those roulette tables that spins itself, but it's not like one of the cheesy ones with like a plastic covering and shit. It's like a legit roulette table orientation. It's spun without the person, but every time it spins, they'll give you numbers. It could be one number, it could be five numbers. And so
Mm.
it's less odds. So instead of it being 37-1, it's 30-1. However, every hand, there's a special number that gets a bump. And the
Mm.
bump could be anywhere from 50 is the lowest, all the way up to 500x. And let me tell you, there's some guys that I don't know what they do in life, but they definitely throw some crazy fucking hands down. Now, we play $12 hands, because like for me, gambling is, yes, at the end of the day, you want to win money, but for me, it's an experience. For like the wifey, it's like, it's exciting. You go into it thinking I'm probably gonna lose money. Now I know roulette's like it's like third or fourth in the casino in terms of odds,
Oh, but yeah.
which isn't bad. I think blackjack's number one, right?
I think so. Yeah. I would imagine so.
Um, So, but I'm terrible at blackjack, and I don't want to fuck anyone else's day up. Where they're like, hey, you shouldn't have hit there. You should have doubled up. People get so fucking crazy mad
Yeah,
if
I
you're doing
know.
the wrong thing. Like I know the basics enough to be dangerous,
Mhm.
and if I was just playing for myself, it'd be different. But I don't want to fuck anyone else's hands up. So,
Mhm.
for us, roulette's the way to go. And the lightning roulette. If you ever, I don't know, do you like roulette?
Yeah, I like roulette. I definitely love roulette. And I know what you're talking about. I've seen it in like the online casinos for sure.
Play it, dude. Like
Yeah.
if you get bored, you want to throw $100 in. It's fun because, dude, we've hit 500 a couple times, like not many,
Mhm.
but there was this stretch, and I want to say it was 2 months, where we were winning because like we would the one day we each had like $100 or $200 in, and then we lost it, and then we put another $100 or $200 in, but then we kept hitting. And then one of us or both of us hit the 500x. So we each had like over $1,000 in our accounts. And that actually got us through. Like we probably gambled every day online for like a month and a half with the money that we had earned from hitting the crazy numbers. And then eventually the luck runs out and you lose it. But because of that, my fucking status on my account like went pretty high,
Of course.
and they were giving me comps, because I was using MGM. So I would get comp rooms if I wanted to go to Vegas, and we're close to Atlantic City. So, if we wanted to go there, you get a bunch of comp rooms, and it was cool. But for me, I'm like a streaky gambler. So like, I'll get an itch, I'll gamble for a couple days or whatever. I'll lose money, and I'm like, all right, I'm good. And then I won't gamble, like I won't legitimately gamble, like, but maybe once in a while we'll throw a little bit of money in, but I won't like actually put money in for a while because I get my fill.
Yeah.
The degen meter goes up. I'm like, all right, I'm cool, and then it gets to a certain point where you got to do it again. But
Uh,
any crazy Vegas stories you want to tell us?
oh, crazy Vegas stories.
It's my favorite place on the planet, by the way. We love Vegas.
I'm thinking it's like sometimes you live there and it's just like every day is like lights and action and you just kind of zone it all out. But I've definitely seen some stuff on the table. I've seen people fight on the table. I've seen some guy like seize and the hospital the paramedics have to come. Like it's you see a lot of like personalities on the table for sure. Sometimes you even see celebrities, and then you see um like drug dealers. You get everybody, which is kind of the beauty of Vegas or just playing poker, right?
Well, if you see Bruno Mars, you should probably go the other way because he's not a winner. He's in debt. What was it? I think it was like 30 or 50 million to
Really?
MGM,
Ouch.
and in order for him to, he couldn't pay them back. So that's why he does shows in Vegas all the time now. That's how he
Oof.
pays Vegas back because he gambled so much and he couldn't pay them
Oh
back.
God. Yeah, I did not know that. That's unfortunate.
But it's wild. I see TikToks and stuff of some of those guys that bet like shit tons and they'll get private jets and like all this crazy shit. And it's like these casinos, man, they play like, oh, woe is me, but they make so much fucking money.
Oh, absolutely. They
Like
just you can't beat
boatloads.
them. Yeah. There's no way to beat the casino, really, because they make so much money off of every single bet. It's just like imagine all the bets that are being made at any given time. They're making like 2, 3% off of that. It's just like you're just literally a money printing machine, right? You can't like at the end of the day you can't beat the odds, right? Like, even as a psychic, like there's only so much I can do, right, to kind of gain an edge with that. And so everybody's like,
Yeah.
well, why don't you just go play slot machines? Or why don't you just do this? Like, it doesn't really work like that. Although, I do have some theories as to how you might, find the right slot machine and things. But really, like, if you want to win in Vegas, like you should be prioritizing living your best life. You should be prioritizing, you know, bringing out a vibe that's helping yourself and helping people around you, and the money will just come. Like you'll just recognize that luck just happens for you, and maybe that might not even show up in money. Maybe that will show up in another way, right? But it definitely increase your chances of winning, just period in life. And so like that's kind of how that's kind of how I see everything nowadays in the sense that life is just energy, and we attract what we do. We are kind of like our aura, and luck is
I
manifested.
I kind of start to believe that because you got a lot of people that are, you know, I've always considered myself bad luck because my dad is bad luck, and I know he's going to listen to this and he's probably going to laugh because um, he's had some he's had some pretty fucked up shit happen in his life. And I'll tell you this: I saw a psychic. I want to say 15 years ago now,
Mm.
and I said to her, I'm like, look, I need you to help me. You gotta, you know, I feel cursed. My family feels cursed. My dad has always got some crazy shit that happens, and you know, do you see anything? And she's the only psychic that ever told me this, which kind of fucked me up a little bit. She said, um, I feel that your family was cursed. Your lineage, long, long time ago, was cursed, and that curse just carries through. And because of that, that's why you guys see. And she tried to help me break the curse, but she wanted me to do some crazy shit, man. So I didn't I didn't trust her enough to know if what she was gonna have me do was good.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, cause there's pretty fucked up shit out there that could also, because I also believe in the bad side of those things, and I didn't want to do anything that was gonna let shit in. But it's like, you bathe with sugar and do this, and she took a T-shirt of mine to like pray with it, and I don't know, man. I didn't get a bad feeling from her. She was probably a good person, um, but she said that to me, and I'm like, damn, that's kind of fucked you
Yeah.
know, to be paying for someone else's choices that you've never seen met or even know existed.
Yeah, and I feel like that's really unfortunate that she said those things, because that's not how I believe it works at all. Like we're not just cursed, right? Like
Yeah.
sure we can have like what I might call karmic debt, but karmic debt doesn't mean like bad things are going to happen to you. It just means that there's going to be a lot of work that you're going to have to do in this life, and that debt is doesn't come in as something bad. It just comes in as struggle. Like it comes in as like emotional resilience. It comes in as understanding yourself from a much, much deeper level and then overcoming those challenges, right? Like you're never gonna have to bathe in salt or do weird things like that. That is not happening. I've talked to enough interdimensional entities to kind of understand like what is, kind of the purpose of life, or what is the purpose of this existence or this reality, you know. And so, everybody has, opportunity to live their absolute best life, right? There's no generational curse, no, no, nothing like that. Like it's really something that if you believe it, then it might actually come true, because you really do, you know, operate under what you think, right? And if you don't think that, then it's not going to happen to you, and you don't want to perpetuate that.
Yeah, have you ever heard of? So I read a book, and it's funny that you mentioned that kind of blew my mind a bit. It was called Many Lives, Many Masters. I talked about that on the podcast
Mm.
before, but it's by Brian Weiss. He's a Dr. Brian Weiss. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I haven't.
Um, he believes, and there's a couple different books about this um, that we live many lives, and you know we come back, and a lot of people feel that we come back because we have a mission, and um, like yes, there's certain things that, like, if you do, like if you kill someone, right, when you come back, your debt is going to be your life is going to be much worse, and your mission is going to be different, but you're going to have to atone for that. But in his book, he was a psychologist, and he was interviewing this woman, and they were doing the hypnotism, and he was trying to. She had like a fucked up life, and he started to talk to her prior selves,
Mm.
so past lives that she had, uh, and she would explain every single time how she died. And then eventually he tapped into speaking with the masters, which are like almost like the Yodas of souls,
Mhm.
where they're like the people that guide you back to the other whatever it is, right? Whether it's a
Mhm.
reality or realm, or you kind of review your life, and then you go back, and you're reborn. And some of the other stuff that he believed was that, like, everyone in your life is people that you want in your life. They're people that have been with you. So, your brother now might have been your dad, in another life. And, but these are people, and you have the option once you get out of this life to wait for those people. So if you die before them, you could wait for them to come back. They debrief, and then when everyone's ready, you can go back and, live another life, which I thought was pretty cool. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that's exactly correct. Oftentimes the people around us are just playing this grand game with us. We die, and then and then we just kind of wait. I mean, and waiting is relative, right? Because the way I see death is, then we're living like in the space of time, and then there is no time above, our existence. So that everybody's just kind of like this, figuring out what game they want to play next for essentially their their evolutionary growth, right? The way I see it is that when I'm communicating, I'm usually communicating to my higher self, and so my higher self is a collection of all of my lives, past and future. And so when I'm communicating um and so like it's giving me guidance, and it's often telling me like just lots of things to kind of help me along the way. And so there's a lot of layers of dimensionality, and I've kind of mapped all of this out, but I don't want to get too deep into it. But
Yeah.
I understand that there are angels above that, and then there are angels above that, and basically there's just like 12 layers of dimensions, and like the game just keeps going and going and going. My philosophy really is that we live in a simulation, but I don't want to say simulation as something that sounds so like simmy or like artificial, right? I want to
Yeah.
say that it's kind of just like the grand game of the universe, or the grand game of our dimensional existence, and that we're here to just continually leveling up. We're essentially eternal. There is no true death. There's only leveling up the to the grand design of who we will become. And so, so then, when I understood that, when the dimensionals told me these things, right? And I don't have any masters, I don't have any teachers. The only masters I have are up here, right? And nobody teaches me any of this stuff except the spirits and my angels. And so, I just understand that, life is just about living it to your fullest, and it doesn't matter like what that might be. You could be living on a farm and like just happy with your cows and your animals, and that's your life. But live that life to the fullest. Live in that
Yeah.
happiness, right? And when you do that, you're evolving. You're evolving in a way that you don't quite understand at that moment, but it's you're also then attracting everything that you want in your life, right? Everybody has different wants and needs and motivations.
So, do you believe that there's like a heaven and a hell, or do you think that that is relative? Like, hell could be here on Earth, the physicality of it, and then when you leave, everyone goes kind of back to the same place, but with different objectives.
I don't believe it like a hell on earth. I believe I mean I don't believe in a hell. I believe that like the hell you're talking about is like, yes, somebody may have committed like a murder, like in their past life, and now they're incarnated in this life, and they have lessons to overcome. It doesn't mean that bad things are going to happen. It just means they're going to struggle, right? They're going to have to get through very difficult emotional and mental situations in their life to evolve, or they have to come in and really do good in the world. And by good, it just means like giving back to the community, or helping others, right? Like like sometimes I say like, oh yeah, like Hitler, he must have a terrible kind of karma when he comes back. But maybe
Yeah.
Hitler becomes like Mother Teresa, like, because then you have to be there and you have to give back to the community and you have to do good, right? There's a balance to everything. There's a push and there's a pull. It's everything in the universe is balanced, and so you never know like what kind of um, person or energy that you come back as. All you know is that you have to evolve at the end of the day, and so if you do one side of it, you're gonna have to kind of do the other. And um and so yeah, there's no heaven. I mean, there's no hell necessarily, and heaven, well, you know heaven is something that you can live on earth, I think. And once you die, then it's then it's anybody's game, right? Like, it's all bliss up there, right? I guess you could consider that heaven. um you won't have anything to worry about. You don't definitely won't have to worry about dying, right?
Yeah.
You're just kind of leveling up for the next game, whatever that game might be.
So yeah. So what's it like to be able to talk to spirits? So like, is it something that you have to channel? Do they come to you? Is it something? Is it a feeling you get?
Um, yeah, it's well, with intention, like they just come in. So like at any point for me, and it might not, be so much with other psychics, but I'm able to bring in any kind of spirit. Like if you wanted to bring in Jesus, I can bring him in now, and we can have a chat. It's kind of like I have an inkling that they're coming in, and it's kind of just like almost like a telepathic link where it's like, ooh, I feel something coming, and ooh, now they want to say something. And so oftentimes, like, I'll get like goosebumps on my arms, or I'll just hear something, right? At the kind of psychic I am, I guess you can consider it's claircognizant. So claircognizant is somebody who's telepathic. I just have a knowing of things, not really understanding why I have a knowing of them. Other people, they might hear things. Other people, they might smell things. Some people even might taste things, right? So there's different kinds of psychics out there, but basically, I've kind of evolved my spiritual abilities to really be able to channel at kind of any given time. And the way I channel is kind of like it's a conscious channel. So like we can be having a conversation, but their wisdom would be moving through me.
That's wild. I've seen psychics throughout the years, because I'm fascinated with stuff like that,
Mhm.
and I've I've had a couple psychics tell me, and I gotta I've always I think I'll see a medium at some point, but they always told me I had I don't know if it's technically a guardian angel, but I've
Mhm.
always had a older male figure with me.
Yeah,
Now
I'm getting
they're not
chills.
able, yeah, they're not able to tell me who it is, but they're
Mm,
like, you have someone that's like always watching over you, and I'm like, I've tried to ask my mom, and she's like, maybe it's maybe it's my dad, or something, but she does. No one can tell me because I've never been to an actual medium, you know.
Mm,
So that's like one of those things that's always I have to pull the trigger at some point because I'm sure it's gonna fuck with me, you know.
yeah.
Like oh shit, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, like, look, I can help you discover that kind of information. So like I'm a channeler, but I'm also can tap into mediumship. There's a little bit of a difference in the sense that when you're doing mediumship, you're tapping more into the fourth dimension, which means you're tapping into like passed away souls, like loved ones, and I found that they communicate a little bit differently. Um,
mhm.
but usually I talk to the higher dimensional beings and so the information comes in a different way. But I can tap in, and if you were interested, I don't know for this podcast, I could kind of see what they might want to tell you about that.
You know what? Go for it, man. I've never. This will be a first. If you can do this on the podcast, I've never had a psychic that has done anything on the podcast. They normally say stuff,
Really?
but I've never had any. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we
because
gotta have fun with it, man. Like you just let
yeah,
it go. And when I say stuff, it's nothing is gonna come out that that's gonna be like bad, right? It's gonna be
yeah,
for your best good. And I always just want to tell people that whatever comes through, it's for you to hear because this space is a sacred space. Everybody's watching it. If somebody wants to come in and give you information, it's to give you information at this exact time, for this exact reason and to tell you something that you might need to know. So, with your permission, I'd love to just kind of tap in briefly, see who's just hanging around you, and if they have anything to say.
let's
All
do
right.
it, man.
All
Full
right.
permission, brother.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Give me a second.
This is cool. I like this.
Okay. Well, first of all, there's massive feminine energy coming in. Um, and mm, okay. So oftentimes they start by kind of introducing themselves. And so this entity is from, I believe they're called Lyrans, and Lyrans are kind of like a feline dimensional entity. Um, and so they say that your ancestry or your what I call star ancestry is
Hmm.
from there, is from the Lyran collective. And so, they're also saying that that kind of makes you um someone who might can be fierce when you need to be fierce, but also kind of calculated, when you go about things, and that shows up a lot and that kind of energy, right, can show up a lot in your ancestry, uh, because there's a balance between like genetics and dimensional ancestry that has this kind of great interplay. Now, in terms of the older figure that you were talking about, mm, mm, okay, they're saying it's actually like a great uh, grandfather, um, somebody who had a lot of a lot of wisdom, a lot of power, a lot a lot of insight. He was a pioneer in his day, right? And he often shows up to just kind of check on you and make sure that you're on that path and moving in the right direction and just living your best life, right? Oftentimes they just kind of show up to check and they're really just they're kind of plotting your timeline with you in a way. It kind of
Okay.
feels funny to say, but it's kind of like you are the architect of your own design, and they are
Yeah.
plotting with you, but you just don't recognize it when you're in
Yeah.
this life, right? And so, he pops in all the time to just, to kind of plot with you and be like, okay, here's a checkpoint. Let's go kind of get to this checkpoint. He's really, um, he says that and he's saying something about fun, and he's saying something about um, how what is it? It's like I want to say it's like you're you can have more fun in the things you do. Oh, okay, no, maybe this is what he's saying. He's saying that you can turn a lot of the things that you find boring or you find mundane, and you can turn that into fun, turn that into creative expression, turn that into, something to look forward to, and that's and so this is kind of like luck advice, I guess he's giving you, and saying that, this is how you can really start manifesting greater or just attracting more more wealth and abundance, into your life, right? He very much, is a proponent of evolution, right? And making sure you're living your absolute best life. While he's on the line, do you want to talk or do you want to ask any questions?
Yeah. So, is he? Would he be related to my mom or my dad? Would you know that?
Yeah, yeah, I can ask. Let's see.
This is so cool.
He says he's on your mother's side.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes sense. So let me ask you this. So I this is weird, but I feel like I always have an intuition. When I go into my work bathroom and if I close the stall, I swear to God, every single time the it'll and I know that it can't be anything else because maybe I've been in there for 2 minutes, but the paper towel thing will go. Oh shit!
I wish you could see my arm. I got goosebumps all over the place
I can
already.
see it.
Yeah, you see it's right there. Yeah,
Yeah,
and he's just saying like he's just laughing. He's laughing so hard. He's just like because he says something like because when you're on the shitter, I know that's when you're kind of paying the most attention.
yeah,
That's what he says. And so he's trying to send you signals, during those times of clarity, right? He's like, oh, he's on the shitter. He's clear. He's ready to receive my download or my presence, right? And so,
that's
he's really
hilarious.
laughing and he's having fun with it. But yeah, like it is a sign. There's a lot of little signs like that they tend to
Yeah,
kind of show us and and say that we're there and we're watching you like even in our most private moments, but he knows like you don't you'll be okay with it, and it is what it is, right?
I just always feel like there's something there, man. Every time I don't know what it is,
Yeah, and
but
you're right, you know and so he's also coming in and he's saying like that's part of your intuition, right? That's something that he wants you every time that happens. Put all of that energy into your gut, right? Put it into the energy right here in the solar plex channel, and see if you can discover something else about yourself. Like stop thinking about it, just feel into it. Because once you start feeling into that, then oh my God, a whole new world's gonna really open up for you. Because you're gonna just understand things from a different perspective. You're gonna be able to just sense different things. You're actually, he says, you're a natural empath, right? So you're able to understand people's emotions. You're able to maneuver around that. You're able to understand where somebody's going before they even get there, right? And that's natural. And I'd imagine that's natural, being a podcast host or being who you are, right? You
yeah,
have this un unspoken kind of understanding of how to kind of how to move things, right? And where people are without asking them kind of where they are, right? But that can be expanded, and there can be um, lots of things to discover from that.
yeah. I think my problem is I'm an idea guy. I have lots of ideas, but I'm also kind of a pussy because I'm always risk adverse. I would rather not do the risky thing and get paid
Hmm.
than do the risky thing and not get paid.
Hmm.
But what's the Wayne Gretzky saying? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's probably my biggest thing. Is I never go out on a limb and take a risk because I have people that depend on me. I got a
Hmm.
family too. So it's like it's hard to make those risks now when you're I'm pushing 40 rather than when you're in your mid 20s, right?
Absolutely. And to be honest, I feel the same. I've always felt the same way as well. Like I'm an idea guy, right? And like even though I'm like a gambler, like when I'm taking risks there, like it's calculated risks, it's just like math
Yeah.
risks. But when I'm taking risks like with people and things, like I don't like to take risks, right? I like to be safe, or I like to feel secure in that way. But nowadays I recognize that if I'm taking risks from the decision making process of my gut, right, from my intuition, then those risks are the best risks I could possibly take, because those risks are going to lead me into an even better life, an even better scenario, even better opportunities, right? And from that, I also recognize that of those risks were really um it was really just self-reflecting on how I felt about failure, right? How I
Yeah.
how I felt about, oh, like I don't want to feel that, or I don't want to disappoint. But you know, it's essentially, it's about evolutionary growth. If I can overcome those feelings, if I can overcome, you know, um, just understanding why things make me feel that way, and what's going on internally with my process, then I'm able to move above that and become a greater version of myself.
Now you mentioned quantum foundations.
Hmm.
Do you want? Can you maybe break that down a little bit for us? And does everybody have them?
Yeah, absolutely. So like when I see people, right? Like for you example, I see you in different ways, or I can frame you in different ways. So I could see you from the lens of like mind, body, spirit, heart, right? And I can say, "Oh, okay, like you're definitely more like a mental person," and then I can say, what that means for you. Or I can frame you in a different way, and I can say, "Oh, like I can see your chakras," right? And your chakras, from my understanding, are kind of like your power centers, where you get your motivations, where energy moves. And so like for example, when I'm looking at you, I see that, okay, which makes sense. Your main chakra is in your throat, right? That means you are a natural born communicator, right? You communicate, you love to laugh, you love to observe, you love to listen. Like it's all about communication for you, right? And that's where all the energy drives you. And so those are quantum principles, as I see it. There are also other things where you can use like I Ching gates, and these are like old divination systems that basically tell you everything about yourself. They tell you all about your purpose. And you can just, nowadays you can go online, you can put in your birth date and time, and you can look at your I Ching gates, and it'll tell you everything about you. It'll tell you your purpose. It'll tell you why you're here on this earth. It'll tell you like what your talents are. And it's just, I think it's a resource that's amazing that people don't really utilize, right? And but to be fair though, it's really difficult to understand sometimes, because you're reading it and you're like, what does that even mean? Like what is
Yeah.
my purpose? Like it's hard to understand, right? You need somebody to kind of come in and humanize it for you. So like those are just three examples of like quantum foundations that we are energy. We are like thousands of different pieces of energy. And so like when I see somebody, I say, okay, like, these are all his energetics. Let's dive into the ones that matter, or let's dive into the ones that, make him a better person, and then grow from there, right? It's kind of like building a house. My approach is always to start with the foundations. Start with the foundations that make you core to who you are, and then work through that, and then you can deal with all of the other like minor things. But it's just all energy, and we're 1,000 pieces of energy.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've said this a couple times on the podcast, but for me, I had a turning point. I was probably like 33, 34, and I was for a while. I got away from just looking at the positive side of things, which I've always been more of a positive person, and I just focused on all the things I didn't have and the things I could have, or I focused on past mistakes. And I'm not perfect. I still have things I'm like, man, I should could have did this, should have did this, whatever, right? But I try to wake up every day and recognize what I do have.
Mhm.
And I don't do the stuff that you see on TikTok where I'm like writing down, I'm thankful for this. And I know journaling and things can be very helpful
Mhm.
to your mind, right? But for me, it's just I wake up and I'm like, all right, yesterday's over. Can't go back to it, right? What's done is done. I try to start every day fresh. Obviously I'm human, so not always. Especially if I had a couple too many drinks the night before, that might be a little bit more difficult. Which I've gotten better with drinking. I've cut back about. I used to drink every day, like not like an alcoholic every day, but I would have a couple drinks. It's, you come home, you make a drink, you hang out. I'm trying to, I cut way back. Like I know this is the Drink Clock podcast, but there's nothing in here. This is just water. Um, to be healthier. Because when you're in your 30s, and look, I work in Medicare, so I deal with elderly a lot, and I probably deal with death more than what you would normally deal with. So I think about that a lot. Like what type of legacy do I want to leave? And part of this podcast, I'm thinking at least if I'm gone, I don't have kids. I have dogs. They're my kids. If I don't have kids, like what is my legacy going to be? Or is someone going to be able to pull up these YouTube videos? Is YouTube going to be around? And are they going to be able to listen to this and be like, oh, that was a cool interaction he had with Preston, and where is this guy? Oh, he died 50 years ago, but you got to have something in life that's a legacy, right? I mean, maybe that's like a super male chauvinistic thing, from back in the day. But for me, I want to leave something in the world, that, you're not just forgotten about in,
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah, I understand that. It's really like it's about perspective, right? Like some of us want to leave a legacy, for others, and I think, like all your podcasts, like that's all on the internet, right? That's all there. Like everybody who's listening, like I mean, think of it this way. Everybody who's listening to anything, any podcast that you have, like that might have made their day better, right? That's a legacy that you leave every time you speak, every time you
Yeah.
put yourself out there. It may not show up as something that's like a trophy or something that you can see that's that you've done, but what your great grandfather wants to say is that it shows up every day, all the time in your life. Just just being yourself and helping people understand something about themselves, or giving them some kind of motivation or um, advice. That is your legacy. Little bits of energy in all of your viewers and all of the people that you communicate with, in your dog and in your family. You know, though that's your legacy, right? It's energy is your legacy, and to know that you're building that momentum, right? It doesn't have to end in something grand. It happens every day of your life, and the people that collect that energy, they're grateful for it up there, right? They don't really understand exactly kind of what's going on down here, but once you kind of ascend to a higher evolutionary state, you recognize that you've done so much good in the world, and 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 you'll recognize that legacy is seen from that perspective.
Yeah. And you're, so it's funny you mention that. So for you, the way you look at it is it's more of a top down overview of what you do, because I guess because we're physical,
Mhm.
no, we're not meta beings, right? We think of the here and the now. Whereas when if you're a meta being, right, you're whatever that is,
Mhm.
whatever that energy is, you're looking at it down, almost like you're playing a board game.
Mhm.
That's the world that they see.
Yeah. But I think like when you're here, right, as human, we can
Yeah.
we can recognize that actually, well, I did good today, right? And know that, that there's nothing more that I need than that. There's nothing more than I need that to know that I was the best version of myself today. And and because I was that best version of myself, I helped, you know, I helped as many people as I could, or the energy that I gave out did the absolute best in this state. And so energetically, that all comes back to you, right? Energetically, that makes you uh, the luckiest person that you could be in the moment that you are.
So do you believe that, what is your view of manifestation? You see a lot of the TikTok videos of people saying,
Mm.
"Oh, if you just wake up every day and for 2 minutes you say, "Give me money, give me money, give me money," you're going to get a check from the government." What's your view of manifestation?
Yeah, so this is a good question because when I started all of this, my first question to the universe was, what is luck and how do I harness all of it? You know,
Well,
and
as a professional gambler, that makes sense.
yeah, and so it's taken me a 4-year journey to really understand that, right? And so I'm just like, oh shit, like here, they're still explaining it to me. But manifest like on TikTok, like I don't know what's going on. To be honest, like I'm not on there all the time. Like they're saying a lot of things, right? But really, manifestation is a two-part equation, right? And I think the first part people just like don't really tap into, and that is being connected to the earth, because we cannot manifest anything unless we have alignment with the earth. The earth is a conscious entity. The earth is really kind of moving the landscape of our reality, right? If we're not appreciating the earth, if we're not giving back to the earth, if we're not respecting the earth, then the earth is not going to respect us, right? That's when you get earthquakes, and that's when you get all these natural disasters, because it's just the earth's just saying like, like, these humans are not respecting me. I'm just going to throw something out there to even the playing field. I mean, and when I say even the playing field, I just mean to like, to change the grand landscape of the game. But back to manifestation, you know, connecting with the earth is just really about just being mindful of, how you're showing up on this planet, right? What you're doing for other people, what you're doing for the environment, what you're doing for, it's a kind of like your house. Are you taking care of your house? If you're not taking care of your house is going to crumble, and it's not going to go anywhere. So that's the number. That's 50% of, what manifestation is. You have to be mindful of your greater environment and the people around you, right? The second part
Yeah.
is really like, manifestation is about living in the energy of well, the way I see it, you live you live in the energy of some of your talents and your abilities, right? Like, so, when you kind of see manifestation, you see all kinds of characters, like, oh, why is that guy like so rich? Like, what did he do? Right? Like, why does he deserve all this money? Well, he's actually living in his talents very well. He's showing up the best version of himself in terms of those talents, and those talents are manifesting for him. It's kind of like everybody has a radiance, and when you're living in the perfect embodiment of that radiance, then all of the wealth and all the abundance are going to attract to you. So whatever you're good at, right? If you're just, kind of tuning into to that and living, in that vibration, without anything stopping you, then that's how you're going to manifest. Obviously things like, emotional resilience and mental resilience, like, all these things can help you, kind of see clarity, but it doesn't necessarily uh, relate to like abundance or manifestation, right? Manifestation also, it's really important to understand like where you want to go, or how you see where you see yourself like in 5 years, right? Like, I always say that it's really important to put something on the wall, like whatever it is that you're looking for. Like, so if I'm looking for a house, I'm just gonna put it on the wall, and I'm gonna look at that, and I'm gonna think, okay, like that's where I'm going in 5 years. You need a goalpost, and that's
Yeah.
also really important towards manifestation. And so like those are kind of the things that I think that manifestation, um and just, attracting abundance, like those are the core foundations of how you actually improve your luck.
So, do you have any tips for people who are trying to tap into maybe their and inert psychic abilities or their intuitions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, at the end of the day, like, um, just have fun with life. You know, like, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, just recognize, like, what are you passionate for? What makes you get up in the morning? What makes you move around, right? What do you want to do, right? Like, get up and just go do it, right? So, like, understand like what's stopping you from doing that, and just say, screw it. I'm gonna gamble today, right? I'm gonna gamble and do something out of my comfort zone and see what happens, because at the end of the day, like, what's the worst thing that can happen, really? Like, I'm not telling you to do something completely crazy. I'm just telling you to get out of your comfort zone and see what happens. Because once you break like these cycles, once you break these kind of habit forming things that, we've just been kind of conditioned to in our whole lives, you then you then start seeing the world and reality in a different way, and then reality starts seeing you in a different way, right? And then it starts offering you opportunities, and then it starts like, putting buckets of gold, like, in seemingly like places that you wouldn't understand, right? Like, it's just, let the luck happen for you, right? So, when you're out there, and if you're trying to manifest, have a goal, have fun with it, you know, understand what your passions are, and maybe, figure out, kind of what your purpose is, right? Like, ask yourself, what do you think your purpose is? And if you don't know, then, maybe go to a psychic, or maybe go online and type in your birthday and see what that says, and really reflect
Yeah.
on that, and and don't let anybody tell you necessarily what your purpose is. You have to feel what your purpose is, right? You have to say that makes sense for me, and in that vibration, then you then start living it, living what makes sense for you.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, I feel like once you know, like everyone knows what they're. I feel like you know what you're good at, you know, and then maybe if you do take those risks sometimes in life, you know, might change things a little bit. Um, now before we tone down, maybe you can help me with this. You know,
Mm,
my dad's going to listen to this episode,
okay.
and this is a unique opportunity to maybe do some good
Mm,
here. All right, so you let me know if you can do it. All right, if you can't, you can't. It's fine. Because I'm putting you on the spot.
it's all
So
good.
my dad lost his wife of 23 years
Mm,
last year. Okay. And he's been vastly struggling for the past year, like really bad. So I call him every day. We talk every day, and I thought it would be something that maybe could help him if you could get a message from her for him.
mm. Mm. Okay. So she wants him to know that she's always there with him, and that there's a lot of emotions that go through me.
I can see it. I can see it on your face. It was like instantly.
Yeah, like there's first of all, let me just preface this by saying there's a lot of love, and um there's a lot of um I don't want to say sadness, but she's sad that he's sad, right? There's, she wants him to know that she is in a better place, that she is watching him, that she doesn't want him to worry, right? That they are, in a sense, co-creating with each other at all times. They are planning their next life. They're planning their next adventure. And and he can still have adventures with her in this life. It's just, she's kind of like, um, she's just saying like Casper the Friendly Ghost, you know. Think of it like that. She's always around, she's always friendly, and she's there. But she also wants to give him permission to move on, to 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 have fun in life, to to explore things that he couldn't explore, with her. And she really wants to live with him in that way, because she hasn't gone anywhere. She's still here. She's just waiting, until um the end of his story. But that story can be paved in any which way he wants to pave it, right? There's full permission to go live and love and be happy and explore and find wonder again, right? And she's really just bringing it in all into wonder. She's really just bringing it into new things and new adventures, and she just there's just an enormous amount of love that's coming through. And um, she also says that there are a few other people, they're with her, that are waiting for him as well, and we're all kind of working together, and to tap into his heart. And when he taps into his heart, he'll feel that she's there with him. It's not a mental process, you know, it's a deep core feeling that he will know true to to himself, and it's a deep core feeling um, that she'll be right there with him at the center of his heart.
Wow. That's cool, man. You could see the change immediately, dude. The moment you did it, I could see it like instantaneously. Does that weigh on you at all when you do that?
Mm, not like when you do a lot of channeling, like sometimes it does, but I'd like to say that I do so much channeling that I've grown a resilience to the energy that I'm bringing in. Because oftentimes I'm just channeling all day, like just taking in quantum insights. Like yeah, when I'm channeling, I do it like kind of scientifically. So like I'm always querying the universe, like kind of like ChatGPT for people, but my I have ChatGPT Universal Edition. So I just all ask anything. Like I'm constantly asking questions. And so like in the beginning, I used to get really really tired. But nowadays, like I found different kind of methods and ways to kind of protect my energy and 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 just yeah, just be more resourceful, I guess you could say.
Yeah, one of the other healers I had on my show, she said that sometimes it would just knock her out, but she discovered her stuff a lot later too, I feel like. So she was saying it would, like, she would channel, and then you also have to worry about, you know, malignant things too,
Hmm.
right? Because you don't
Oh
want to let
yeah.
those in. So do you protect yourself against that?
Yes. Well, in the beginning, like I didn't really know what I was doing, to be perfectly honest. So like there would be a lot of things that are coming in. Because I in the beginning I literally just went on YouTube and I just went in a deep dive and looked at all these stone tablets and basically anything that could, open up doors. And so when I opened up those doors, yes, there was a lot of like nefarious beings and just all kinds of things. And so like I learned how to protect myself from that eventually. I learned what how to, you know, just how to navigate, in certain realms and how to tap into intention and love and things that those entities cannot ever usurp, right? At the end of the day, like if you're feeling love, that's a loving entity. There's nothing else about that, right? Because you tapped into love, like, and that entity loves you. It's true intention. Everything in the universe is intention. So if your intention is to tap into something with good intention, then that's what you're gonna get.
That's awesome. Look, man, this was a lot of fun. But now I need you to plug yourself.
Okay.
What projects do you got going on that you could tell us a little bit about? And if someone wants to find you and maybe connect with you to do some more work. I know you have a Discord channel.
Yeah.
You have a cool website,
Thank you.
like your website, very very well done. But plug yourself, man. What's going on? What do you got going on? I know you mentioned a potential coin, and
Yeah.
uh, you know,
Oh, where'd you go? Oh, you there. There you go. So yeah. So I'm launching a project that I'm calling Soltar. So Soltar is this is basically AI fused with it's an AI it's an AI fortune teller. All right. So I'm building it on the blockchain and I'm programming the AI with quantum foundations. So basically like the AI is the embodiment of myself, but just with all of the wisdom and all of the knowledge of myself. So it's kind of like it has all the energetics of myself, but it has all the wisdom. So I can use myself essentially to teach myself about how to become a better version of myself. But also I can teach other people, you know, how to become the best versions of themselves as well. So it's a mix between AI and spirituality and quantum foundations and blockchain, right? And so you can find me at Ask Soltar. That's my Twitter handle. Or you can my Twitter handle is at Psychic Gambler on Twitter. So you can find me there as well. We'll have asksoltar.com out as well, and you can interact. You'll be able to interact with our live fortune telling, Soltar as well, and we're also launching a meme coin. um, yeah, exactly, a meme coin. And so I know there's
it's the hey man, it's the rage these
yeah,
days.
no, it's
So
it's the rave, but I want people to know that the intention is really not to, like pump your bags or anything. The intention is to bring a new kind of energy into the space. The intention is to really find trust and transparency and bring people together through collaboration. It's to empower the individual, it's to empower collectives, it's to empower good intentions, right? The and so yes, we're going to launch maybe in a couple weeks, but you follow our socials to kind of get updates on that. But it's gonna
That's
be
cool,
fun.
man.
It's gonna be absolutely fun. And I hope,
What blockchain? Sol, ETH?
yeah, Soul. We're gonna launch on Soul.
Yeah, that's the way to go these days. It seems like that's. Did you see the one that launched today? I think it was Sol. The guy that created Venmo
Oh,
launched a coin
yeah.
today,
Yeah, I saw that
and
actually. Yeah.
and someone put $5,000 in and made $1,000,000 because it skyrocketed to like was it like 130 was it 130 million? I don't know. It went like parabolic, and
Yeah.
people were making vast amounts of money. But I think the crypto space is definitely a space that needs more positivity. So it's good
Hmm.
you're putting that out there because there's a lot of people that lose a lot of money, man, and it's kind of another form of gambling,
Yeah.
just legal gambling to a certain degree. I love crypto. I've been doing it now since for 5 years actually almost. So
Awesome.
I've learned some lessons in my time of
Haven't
doing
we
that.
all, for sure?
But the best one I got was I put $50 in a Pepe when it was just no one had it, and I think it's worth like $8,000 right now. Like best investment I probably have ever made.
Awesome. Awesome.
But I'm gonna hold, man. We're still in a good market. So this time around though, I will sell. I didn't the first bull market. I didn't. I actually bought like probably when it was like 80% to the top,
Hmm.
and I could have still made 10,000, 20,000, and then I dipped all the way down to like probably a little less than my initial investment, and now I'm way back up. So, but I also I DCA'd my bags when it was the bear market, so I doubled up on everything very cheaply. So, I tried to do it smart after I did it kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But those are the lessons you learn when you do this.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's a really important lesson for those at home, to recognize that, look, like there's all of these kind of crazy things going on in crypto, and not to get greedy, right? Even with my own project, hey, if you're up a lot of money that and you're getting uncomfortable, and you're like, hey, that, like that's a lot of money. I could buy something, or I can give, I can buy my kids something, or I can buy my wife something, then do it. Absolutely
Yeah,
do it, right? Because what are you gonna do? You're gonna live in regret, like, or you're gonna, everything has an up and down, right? We're trying to build solid foundations here, and I want that, everybody to, kind of get over that gambling addiction kind of mindset, and really, think about, like, okay, like, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this $100 that I made, you know, and there's no need to be greedy, right? So yeah.
yeah. I'm in a. I don't know if you like Pokemon,
Oh, I love it.
but I recently got into buying it again, and because it's fucking TikTok kills me. But I haven't collected since '99. When it '97, whatever, when it first came out. So it's been a wild ride. I've been doing it for like about a month now, a month and a half. But my goal at the end of the day is to I already have it attached to my LLC, but I want to do a collectibles business. So
Mm.
that's my thing. I graded my first couple cards, so that should be pretty cool. And I don't know. It's kind of gambling when you open it. When you rip a pack, dude, it's
Oh,
gambling.
that
You know.
and yeah, that brings me back to the childhood days because I love Pokemon. Like when I was like 10 years old, I started buying like boxes of Pokemon cards and just like selling them in my middle school. Oh man, I was a little entrepreneur, but yeah,
Aren't we all?
I loved it. And so,
It's crazy now, dude. And like people, the market is insane. It is so crazy. It reminds me of crypto slash like investments. It's wild, the market, the
yeah,
way it is. So
absolutely.
but that's my endeavor. We'll see if it comes to fruition. Listen, it was awesome having you on, dude. This was probably the most fun I've had in a little while doing this. So I appreciate you and
Awesome.
you exerting some of that energy out. Hopefully, when my dad listens to this, I think it'll make his day. So maybe his year. So I appreciate you doing that for him.
Absolutely.
My podcast is Drink O'Clock Pod on all socials. Drink O'Clock Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. This is now an governmentally official podcast, by the way. I finally pulled the trigger on that as well. I have a base LLC. I haven't done any of my DBAs, so I'm like, all right, I'll pull the trigger. So we're officially official. So thank you, government. Look, this will be up shortly, man. So thanks again, and you have a great night.
Thank you.
On a stormy night where legends unfold, there's a podcast that's breaking the mold. Raise your voices, raise your glass high. Welcome to the Drink O'Clock Podcast. Let's dive. Oh, grab an old fashioned and join the fray. Raise your spirits, let the music play. From the corner park to the dance hall floor. Drink O'Clock Podcast, we're ready for more. We're ready for more. With a mix of folklore and rebel cheer here, we'll guide you through tales of whiskey and beer. From Irish shores to lands afar, grab your friends, it's time to raise the bar.